if you want to live a long, healthy life, you have to strength train. Movement training, balance, working on balance, gait, VO2 max, your metabolic conditioning in conjunction with strength training is absolutely necessary for a full and healthy life and a long life, as studies show. We went from 7 grand to, now we're just under 40 grand a month with the
So
3
crazy.
different programs that we do. I had no idea that there was such a need for gyms like mine. Easily the happiest time in my life professionally. I absolutely love what I'm doing, what we do, but being able to help other people in this way is incredibly meaningful and joyful to me. And this is not hyperbole, as you know. The truth is, we are extending people's lives in a way that is more impactful than so many other things. The science is very, very clear. We can add, for many people, a decade to their lives, and not just a decade of extra life, because clearly we are all living longer, but we are not living well. If you look at the majority of folks in their 80s and their 90s, they are not doing well, and they could be. This doesn't need to be.
It's much earlier than that, really, isn't it? Like even people in their 50s,
Yeah,
60s, and 70s aren't doing well in a lot of cases. You know,
absolutely. And we have, through this tool, the ability to change their lives in a way that very few things can. There isn't any research that I've seen that says that there's anything better than exercise. And while there are other styles of strength training that are equally as effective as ours, there aren't any that are as efficient and are as safe as ours.
Lawrence Neal here, and welcome back to High Intensity Business, your one-stop shop for growing your strength training business and fueling your passion for high intensity training. Today, I am joined by Kevin Quinn. Kevin is owner of Quinn's Gym in Carmichael, California, and it is great to see you, Kevin. How are you?
Great to see you, Lawrence. What a treat it is to hear you say that. Those words that I've heard you say so many times before, but pointed at me. It's quite an honor and very fun to be here with you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for your long-term support. And this is a long time coming. And it sort of occurred to me, obviously we had a call booked originally to talk about something completely different. I said, hey, we should use this as an opportunity to do a podcast together because you have an amazing story. So I'm excited to get into it. Can you take us before we get into the what you've built in terms of this amazing gym and the success you've had? Can we take us right back to the beginning? Where are you from? And kind of start us there, and we'll go from there.
Sure, sure. Um, where I'm from originally is Philly, West Philly. But my introduction to gym ownership actually started, and I can hear Pete in my head saying, as I start to say this, because we're from the same area. He's from Jersey. I'm from Philly. Anyway, um, that I've been, imbibing too much of the mushrooms out here in California for too long. But um, I started getting an intuition that I couldn't explain either to my business partner at the time or my wife. This would have been around 2014. I've been in the delivery business for most of my adult life. We had a very successful business through FedEx, contractors with FedEx, and had a lot of trucks on the road and things were going swimmingly. And all of a sudden, I got this itch that I just couldn't push away. I couldn't deny. It became uncomfortable to try to do so. And that was to go buy a gym. I had never managed a gym, let alone own one. I've been a gym rat my whole life. But, I didn't know anything about the gym business. Yeah. And I convinced him that it was okay, and my wife to go grab a bunch of our money and buy a franchise. In pretty short order, that turned out to be, at least from my experience, a very, shall we say, challenging position for me. We bought a franchise that had 850 members in a good area. I'm an introvert. And so the idea of having 850 people knocking on my door, so to speak, 24/7, because it's one of those 24/7 gyms.
Can you talk about the name, or do you want to keep the name out of it?
Sure, Anytime Fitness,
Mhm.
which is a model that's worked for many. It did not work for me. I had way too much overhead um, and not enough experience in that business. And it just became incredibly overwhelming. I did that for 5 years, 5 very torturous years, but the intuition that led me to that was an incredibly powerful, turned out to be an incredibly powerful one. And that was, I found the program called Rock Steady Boxing that teaches the training movement, the movement of a boxer without the getting hit part, to people with Parkinson's. Um, my father did not have Parkinson's, but he had a brain tumor as a teenager. So his affect was very similar to many people with Parkinson's. Boxing was the only sport that I knew anything about, that ever cared anything about. I used to be a fighter, used to be a sparring partner for 4 champions of the world back in the day. Um, Won a couple of amateur titles. I
Wow.
loved and love boxing. So when I saw that there was this program that used the only sport I ever loved, that could help people that look like my father, it was like, I'll do this forever. And this is why I got this gym. This is why I was pushed to do this and from my belief structure. And so, once I found out, I brought that to the gym. Everything changed. The gym was still traumatic for me.
Hang
It
on,
was
so you
still
still
like
had the
fun.
Anytime Fitness franchise, but you introduced Rocksteady Boxing to it. Is that correct?
I did. I
Which
did.
was
I
what,
was
like
the
a, is that a
first in there
licensed
worldwide.
program, or something like that? How did that
I'm
work?
sorry, say again.
Sorry, was that like a licensed program or something, or another franchise you had to plug
Rocksteady
in?
Boxing is an affiliate. You must be
Affiliate,
a
right? Yeah.
certified coach. You have to go to their headquarters in Indianapolis, Indiana, and do that.
Mhm.
It turned 19 years old this month. It is in most of the world, unfortunately. So is Parkinson's, but it's all throughout the UK, all throughout Europe. It's in every
Okay.
state here in our country. Every major city has multiple. Again, because Parkinson's continues to grow rapidly. Because the program is an amazing one. It's a very effective one. Anyway, so yeah, so that just continued to grow. Although it's not a uh, well, it's not a business that most people who do it make a living out of, right? It's for love and it's for joy. Um, but it did remind me that that inspiration was real, was incredibly meaningful to me. Um, I wound up having that business for 5 years during the pandemic. Like many, we suffered tremendously. Um, I was able to sell it during that pandemic, and then about 6 or 7 months later, I sold my portion of my FedEx business, and went and bought a building and turned it into a gym, mostly for my Parkinson's folks, but also to have a strength studio that was inspired, really, in large part, as I shared with you earlier, by you. Uh, Originally, I told you Steve Maxwell, the great jujitsu coach and writer, fitness coach, wonderful fellow. Um, he mentioned Dr. Doug McGuff. I then bought the book Body by Science. Um, Somewhere I read Doug mentioned you and your podcast. Uh, I found that, and that started this next phase of great. I started working out with high intensity workouts when I was 16,
Mm.
uh, in the 70s, as a boxer, reading Arthur Jones stuff through Iron Man magazine. Well, I was so taken with it and the Nautilus workouts. So was very familiar with the principles and the benefits thereof. Um, and so that led me to having this building. One side is for classes, the other side is connected by a beautiful redwood deck where we have parties. Is the strength studio, and so my idea was to bring the strength training to my Parkinson's folks, and then boomers like me. Since it turns out the majority of folks of my generation are not doing well physically. They're not doing anything really, if you look at the studies. So that became another focus of mine, was to reach out to my generation and say, "Hey, come on, man, we need to do better than this. If you want to live a long, healthy life, you have to strength train." And it's right here.
Yeah, and did you have a period there where you sold the Anytime Fitness and you had a 6 or 7 months until you sold your portion of the FedEx business that your clients that you were providing the Rocksteady boxing service to, they weren't being served? They just kinda
No, no, I never stopped.
okay,
It was another torturous thing for me. I am very technologically hampered,
surely not.
but was committed to my tribe. So I did as much research as I could manage and was doing out of my living room, like so many coaches,
Oh,
all
well.
through Zoom.
Okay, yeah, well done.
I was thinking about that this morning, actually, and hear many of my boxers laughing at me and finding it very entertaining that I was suffering on camera, trying to make it all work. I,
Oh, yeah,
I think
wow.
they got as much benefit out of that as they did actual working out with me. But but we did that for quite a while. And then when we were allowed to go back to gyms, I rented space at other locations, and
Yeah.
continued to do that.
So, interesting. So then you bought this building. I mean, you mentioned obviously there that you got back reconnected with Steve Maxwell stuff, and then come across Doug McGuff and Body by Science, and the rest is history. Um, when I'm curious when that kind of happened, because was it when you bought this building, was the intention always to have a strength training studio, or was there this kind of thing where you were like, okay, we're helping these guys with Parkinson's with the boxing service, but they need that strength training. They need that strength training for health and longevity. Boxing is not going to do it in isolation. I'm just trying to understand where the strength training came into, where you were like, okay, we need to have this component into the business as well.
Yes. So, for me as a longtime martial artist and former combat athlete, it was very clear to me as a teenager that you need both. And as I've,
Hmm.
studied over the years, it's been a constant study of mine, that movement training, balance, working on balance, gait, VO2 max, your metabolic conditioning in conjunction with strength training is absolutely necessary, really, for a full and healthy life and a long life, as studies show. So for me, the boxing was great, but we couldn't focus on strength enough, right? There's only so much you can do in a 90-minute class. And while we do focus on strength, there's nowhere near the focus, tension, as you know, that comes about from a structured hit workout. So my idea was I have to have a place that has three things basically: classroom, enough space for parties, um, uh, because the communal part is critical. Anybody that's been doing the work with the Rocksteady Boxing or any of this kind of work for any period of time gets very quickly that the aspect of community is so important to helping people deal with, a progressive neurological disease that will eventually take their life. Um,
Right.
so, and my people are, as I've shared with you, are Irish for potato famine, Irish for both sides of my family. So there is alcohol involved in the parties, and I have it catered. And we have 60 to 80 people that come to the doors on a holiday party, on a spring party,
Nice.
and then I needed another side that had the strength component. So I have one side of the building, which was a house in 1945 originally, and then the other side was built on later in the 70s, and both made into a commercial building with a big, beautiful redwood deck connecting the two. So
Nice.
we have our movement classes, our strength training part of it.
Amazing. Yeah, so cool. And okay, but when you first moved into the space and started operating, it wasn't easy at the beginning. Can you talk to us
Oh
about
no,
how things started, and if you can share
sure.
kind of high level revenue and that type of thing, that'd be really useful.
Yeah, yeah, you bet. Uh, so as I mentioned, the Anytime Fitness experience for that 5 years was a very difficult one. Um, Incredibly challenging financially. There was quite a loss of income when we sold that. Uh, and because the pandemic, like so for so many gym owners, it decimated their business. When I bought this building, and unfortunately, I lost many of my Parkinson's boxers to the pandemic
Gosh, I'm
during that
sorry to hear that.
time. It's a really hard part about doing this gig. We become very close to them. As I say, we have parties. I go visit them in the hospital and their homes, and it's a tough part about it. So we lost quite a few. So when I started back, I bought this building. Thankfully, I'd done pretty well in the FedEx business. I was able to buy the building outright, so that helped a bunch. But still, there was, I think we were grossing somewhere around 6,500, 7,000 a month. Um, but through um, hard work, through listening to you, Doug McGuff, and especially, God bless him, Pete Cirqua. Um, I don't care what everybody says about him. I think that he's an impossible guy not to like.
Oh, who's saying who's saying what about
Uh,
Pete?
that's a personal thing for Pete. That's me jabbing at him in our East Coast humor way. No, I love Pete. Everybody loves him. Um,
Absolutely.
anyway,
He's super brash,
uh,
so he's always going to get some people who don't take that well. Yeah,
yeah, Californians, yeah, they're too sensitive to East Coast humor.
I
What are
didn't
you
say
gonna
that.
do? Anyhow, yeah. So all of that, Pete was a huge help, um, and is still really. We'll be signing up with him. I need to reach out to him or you, I guess. I'm sure to schedule our next series.
Sounds great.
He changed our. While I had been training mostly in the hit style for all these decades, although I split off and did all kind of stuff. I wish I had stayed with that. To be quite honest, I wouldn't have the damage to my body that I have.
Do you know, I hear that. I've heard that so many times, Kevin, where people started with Arthur Jones, started doing high intensity training, fell out of it, got into kettlebells, or even in some cases CrossFit and things like that.
Oh yeah,
And they come
me.
full
I
circle.
was.
Yourself as well, yeah. That's
Oh
so
yeah,
interesting. I've heard that so many times. Yeah. Sorry to cut you off. Please continue.
yeah. No, no. I was thought I'm thinking about that the other day. I was talking to somebody. I was like, if I had just stayed doing that, of course, the martial arts, getting thrown and kicked and beaten up for decades didn't help. But anyway, um, uh, I lost my train of thought. That's come
Yeah, sorry,
hitting my head too many times.
no, you were saying obviously, working with Pete was a big help.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
There's a gift.
because you were stuck at the kind of like 7K mark, and then you were kind of talking about that transformation. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. The two things happened: getting a better company to help me with Facebook advertising, which was a struggle. So everybody that's on this podcast has gone through that. Pete was huge in helping me. Well, that's what I was trying to say. I wasn't used to training people in the hit style. I trained myself. So Pete was able to add a level of professionalism with just a few different things, and that increased my staff's ability to offer a really enjoyable, helpful, professional hit session like overnight. And we went from primarily from the business, the personal training business, just shooting up. I don't know if it was the confidence that I got from that, um, the experience of working with Pete, but we went from 7 grand to now we're just under 40 grand a month, with the
So
three
crazy.
different programs that we do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fair play to you.
so huge, really.
Mm. Let's dig into that a little bit more, about what happened there. Is it that, so you said confidence. Now that's a big one, right? If you have more confidence in your service, you feel more convicted about it. When you talk to
Absolutely.
people, you're going to be way better at selling it. Your trainers are going to do exactly the same.
Yeah.
Is that what happened? And did that, I mean, you touched on a Facebook ads, we can touch on that in a second, but did that lead to more referrals? I'm just curious how it grew specifically, if you can elaborate.
So I can't say that there is a tremendous amount of referrals. I'm not very good at that part of the business that I hope to get better at. Um, uh, um, but I think in large part, it's really hard to say. The Facebook was certainly part of it, but I think in large part, my entire staff and I just in such a short period of time felt like, okay, and all of them are certified trainers, all of them have years of experience, but none of them had experience with doing this style of strength training as a business. And that just, it did. The entire staff and myself, as I say, included, just felt incredibly more confident so that the people who did come in, they bought. 80% of the people, at least, that came in the door, they bought and they stayed.
Okay.
And I attribute a lot of that to Pete's influence and my staff. I've been very fortunate and I've worked hard at that over the years, of finding people who see my mission of helping others as being, part and parcel of who they are as human beings. And
Mm.
because everybody who's done this for any period of time certainly run across trainers that's not what they are, right?
Right, right.
They'll
Yeah.
self-aggrandizing, people who, wanted to be all about them. I've drawn the people who it's not about them, as Pete likes to say. It's about client, about serving them,
So
about
Petism.
being
Yeah.
present with them.
Yeah.
Unfortunate that way.
Yeah. That's such a key point
So
there. Qualifying in the right trainers who have that alignment with that value. That's a really, because that's, it's funny because if you get that wrong, doesn't matter how much you invest in Pete or whatever to make your team better. If they're not the right people to begin with, there's no use. So that's
yeah,
key.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Luke's words on that were very helpful to me too. Luke Carlson's words on that. I took that to heart in his process. I borrowed a lot of that. His analogy of getting the right people on the bus and the right people in the right seat on the bus was one that I used a lot. And if they're not the right, if they don't belong on the bus, get them off the bus.
Right.
Was very helpful too.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, and for those that are listening are wondering how this works, so Pete has essentially worked with your team mostly. Is that right? Like he was working, I don't know, you correct me, but he's working with you more at the start. And then as things developed, he would work more with your trainers, showing them how to deliver a great workout.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Mm.
Yeah, putting up the laptop and I get one of my, of course, all my staff are young and they're not technologically challenged as I am, so they set it all up and I just show up. Yeah, and that was and is still something that I've gained a lot of benefit from.
Yeah. That's great to hear. And obviously you've invested a fair bit with Pete, which is great to see. And obviously he's really helped your team to develop. And is to be more specific, is it things like, how to use the machines appropriately, how to create construct the protocols, how to provide the customer service. This essentially the end-to-end workout experience is what he's going through.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Just even down to the overcoming that awkwardness of, and I know some hit trainers that they're fine with that being quiet and letting the trainee, the client do their thing, but just very minimal. I tried that. And that's all. It didn't feel good to me. Initially, I remember thinking that, listening to Pete talk about it before I actually saw it, like, I'm not going to like that either. That sounds annoying to me. Just going to constantly chatter at me while I work out. But it turned out to be a game changer, really, I think, for all of us and our clients, because we had clients right before that we were working with, and then we started using these techniques, and we could see, all of us could see right away that both parties enjoyed it immensely more, having that uh, that coaching while they're
Interesting.
going through the set. That was
Yeah,
huge
it's
piece.
it makes a lot of sense to me. It's like suddenly these trainers have, a different system that's proven. They have more confidence. They're going to sell more effectively, as you stated there, and they're going to retain those people. And we know a huge part of this business is retention. It's just holding on to customers for a long period of time. Um, it's interesting what you said there about chattering during the set. I think a really good razor for this is like, is everything that you're saying during that set productive? Is it adding value? And I think Discover Strength, which you mentioned Luke Carlson earlier, have a great system for this, where it's like if you're not providing corrective feedback, like correcting form or reinforcing positive behavior, like great job on that turnaround, whatever it is. And then I guess the last thing would be providing like encouragement and motivation. Don't say anything. And what you often see in personal training is just people narrating the set, right? Kind of telling the client what they're already doing uh, and adding no real value, right? You could essentially put them on a video recorder and just have it balanced on the machine and play it to the, and that would be like, well, although actually there is that funny thing about, I don't know if how much you've dug into the supervision literature, but if you just have someone in the room or someone present, providing no personal training service, your performance will improve just because of that kind of, what do they call it? It's one of those like effects, but I forget what it is. It's a fancy name, but it's just that them being
Right.
present improves performance, which is fascinating.
Right.
So
Yeah, I told my wife
yeah.
that when I was training her and being the funny woman that she is, she said, "Well, could you just stand there and not say anything? Really be better." Stood there, didn't say anything. Anyway,
My wife's the same. When I train her, I don't train her very much these days. She sort of probably prefers to train by herself. But like, yeah, she doesn't like any of the coaching techniques I would have used on 99% of other people. And I always remember many years ago, I was training at Keyser Training in London before it closed down. Unfortunately, it didn't work out there. But if anyone who knows Keyser is familiar with their model and that they have the best machines, the best medics machines, um, and we used to train there in London, and I had a workout there where she wasn't really training me. She was kind of just hanging around and supervising me. And I think just because she was there and it was like early on in our relationship, and obviously the testosterone, everything's going, and I did my best performance on every
of
machine,
course,
and I'd
of
plateaued for weeks,
course.
It's funny how that works.
That's great.
So, okay, so we kind of jumped ahead there because you said you grew the business to like 40K a month, which is amazing. Do you want to just elaborate on the things that you do? Because you have quite a mixture of services. You do this amazing work for both adults and children with special needs. And clearly you're really passionate about, making what you do accessible to more people and helping people that others can't or won't. So yeah, please elaborate on that.
Yeah, yeah. The life is such a funny thing, isn't it? Uh, I mentioned to you before that I had a brother, God rest his soul, who was born severely developmentally disabled, blind, and severely autistic. And when one of my clients looked at my gym and said this would make a great sensory gym, I said, I have no idea what that means. And that sounds weird. Um, what are you talking about? And when she described who it was for and what she meant, I said, oh, yeah, of course. If what I love to do could help children like my brother Michael, like with the Rocksteady boxing with my father, like I'll do this forever. Um, so that was born about a year ago. I had no idea that there was such a need um, for gyms like mine to work with special needs kids, mostly autistic kids. But as I mentioned, it's grown to where we work with people with cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, because it helps them just like it helps the rest of us. Right? It's all about the brain.
Hmm.
Increasing the brain's ability to do its job is, in many ways, most of the studies I read, is best supported by physical activity or exercise, and exercise that challenges the brain. Um, so we turned our gym into, in part for the kids, a playroom that my coaches are brilliant at this because they are used to, they were brought up with video games. I wasn't. There was Pong when I was a kid, and I thought that was kind of silly.
Classic.
Why are we doing this? Let's go out and, hit each other or wrestle in the ground or do something other than this nonsense. But anyway, they got the kids' language. The little kids would come up to me and start talking about the characters and the activities in these video games, and I would recognize what they were saying as English words, but that was about it. I didn't know what they were saying. So my coaches, they help the kids co-create classes that incorporate the characters, the actions
Oh
of the
wow!
video
And they can
game.
relate. They can
to-
relate to them because they know some of the games. Like I'm assuming Minecraft's
Right.
pretty big, probably among some of them.
I've heard that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but anyway, so they're doing strength training, they're doing metabolic conditioning, they're doing balance work, but to them, they're just playing. So we have these big obstacle courses, these soft obstacle courses, and sandbags, and med balls, and battle ropes, and all kinds of stuff, and they fly around my gym like spider monkeys. Um, while I
What
sometimes,
ages are we talking about here? Because you said it's adults,
uh,
some adults and kids, but I assume
Yeah,
you have two
so
separate classes.
5 years old, all the way up to the oldest client we have, I guess, is mid 20s, late 20s.
Okay.
But yeah, and so and so our goal was to have it be truly inclusive in the classes. Anyway, so that would be neurotypical, so called, and neurodivergent, whether they had uh,
Yeah.
Down syndrome, autism, or just your regular kid is neurotypical, so called. Um,
Right.
yeah, and then we mix the strength training, private one-on-one strength training, in with, just like with the Parkinson's folks, with the movement training,
Hmm. And do you
and that's
have?
taken off.
Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah, finish that thought there.
Yeah, that's just taken off. I had no idea again that there was such a great need. We got vendored by a state agency that
Right.
refers people to us. So pretty steady stream of parents coming to us.
Great. Okay. And I'm curious. Do you have? Forgive me, Kevin, because I know that we have spoken about this before. It was a long time ago. Do you have these business units kind of separate under the kind of Quinn's Gym banner, or are they like? Because I'm curious to know how much they integrate. Like, for example, do your trainers do both? Do you have trainers who will do high intensity training and they'll also work with kids, or do you have kind of separate skill sets, separate individuals for that? How does that work?
No, mostly all my coaches do everything, and
Okay.
I started out that way. That I wanted, when I added the hit, I wanted to make sure my coaches who work with my Parkinson's folks could also do the high intensity training.
Got
And
it.
so the majority of my coaches work with the Parkinson's folks in the morning, as well as personal training. Mostly clients are, my age, right, or thereabouts, my generation, and then in the late afternoon, early evenings, we have the classes for uh, the special needs children and adults, and all throughout the day and into the evening, we have both. Uh, Boomers like me, Gen Xers, and special needs kids training in the strength training room together,
Got it.
with a trainer.
Do you get much, because you're really big on community, do you see the older guys, the Gen Xers, the boomers mixing with the younger kids and with the special needs? Does that
Yeah.
all sort of come together? Like, how, yeah, I'm curious how that
Yes.
community
Yeah.
kind of,
Yeah.
yeah,
It can be very fun. Some of my older clients just find the kids, incredibly entertaining because many of them are very entertaining. They're high energy. Some of them are incredibly intelligent and self-aware. Some of the 9 and 12-year-olds who have autism just continue to blow my mind with what they'll say. Um, uh, and my older clients find that very entertaining and touching, and like training, in the same room with them. It's very fun.
is this as far as like your business life has gone, Kevin? Is this like the least? I don't know if this is the right way to put it, but I feel like this is like your happy place. And I know it still comes with some stress, and all business is somewhat stressful. But as far as like you've done so many different things, where does this rank?
Easily the happiest time in my life professionally. I absolutely
Mm,
love what I'm doing, what we do,
mm,
and I love your sign behind you. I've always wanted that, having a business, the FedEx business and delivery businesses where I was able to provide, jobs for people that gave them enough money where they could buy houses and do well. It was also very fulfilling. I did love that, but this is a whole nother level of joy and pleasure, because you're dealing with folks, and it's many of our folks, especially the kids that, they're not very accepted by society, right? They struggle at school and in the community, and my older folks too, having Parkinson's and being out in the world where people can see, right, that your hand is shaking, your gait is
yeah.
off, your balance is off, uh, is what I imagine is an incredibly difficult psychological experience. And to have the ability for my team and I to be able to offer this environment where they're not just accepted, they are genuinely welcomed each and every time they come in my doors. They're celebrated. They are given tools and experiences that make them more confident and happier is, you know, if for me, if life is about anything, if it makes any sense at all, it has to have that, right?
Mm,
And even with that, for me, this world and this life doesn't make much sense. But being able to help other people in this way is incredibly meaningful and joyful to me.
yeah.
Plus, I get to sit in the corner and throw soft balls at people. The children, especially, is very fun. 'Cause I did try to get out on the mat with them a few times, but I looked like a demented Captain Kangaroo. You're probably too young to know what
Eh,
that is and who that
no.
was. And because the kids are running circles around me, and I could hear the poor mothers on the sideline think, "Someone help that old man, get him to the mat." So I go back to the side of the room and start throwing balls at them while they're going through their games, and it's very fun for all concerned.
I love it. I must connect you to Wayne Robbins. I don't know if you know that name. He's a high intensity training studio owner in the UK, in like the south of England, and he has built his whole business focused on Parkinson's patients
Oh,
or people with Parkinson's, and has an extremely strong understanding of how to train that population effectively. And he's like the go-to place for people with Parkinson's in that area.
I loved it.
So I will
Connect with him.
absolutely connect you because he's already.
Awesome.
There was someone recently in our community who's like, I have a client with Parkinson's. Can you help? And Wayne was in there with like this essay, just helping them and showing them exactly what he would do, which was super cool. And I'm sure you have a ton of experience as well, so there could be some really cool notes to be traded there.
Yeah. That
Um,
was,
I wanted to just circle back for a moment, talking about marketing, talking about getting clients. You mentioned there that you don't feel that getting referrals was your strong suit. How is it that you've been able to grow then? Because you have touched on Facebook ads. I know from talking to you in the past that Facebook ads have been a struggle for you in that trying to get consistency, trying to get good quality leads. I know you perhaps went for a few agencies to help you. Obviously, I see this trend. I am really yet to find anyone who has used an agency and had consistent success over the long term. They usually have like, periods of success and then it doesn't sustain itself. And there's questions over the quality and whether or not these people are a good fit and get retained over the long term and this kind of thing. So one of the main reasons why I haven't actually maybe partnered or pushed an agency to anyone, like a particular one, because I've just not seen it. Um, but I'm just curious what your experience is, and maybe you can share some insights to my audience as to like how you've made that work for you, if it has worked for you. Yeah.
it's certainly, as you alluded to, been a hit and miss thing. Um, and for the majority of the agencies, going back to the Anytime Fitness days, was an absolute miss, and it was,
Mm.
might as well have lit a match to my money for the benefit that it gave me. Uh, but as I shared with you earlier, the folks at Front Desk Ninja is their name. Signing on with them, they created my website. They're also a CRM, so they have the texting and the emailing, the auto bots. People reach out. They're looking for, what I offer on via Google. They find the website, and you know how that works.
Mhm.
That's all, um, magical to me. But that has worked more than anything that I've tried. And even without the Facebook, and they integrate their Facebook advertising with that CRM, with that whole the website in a way that has worked, to be sure. Um,
So it sounds like am I right in thinking that a lot of customers are coming through Google, and obviously it
yeah,
sounds like Front Desk Ninja done a great job integrating all these components. But I'm hearing, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm hearing leads are coming from other places like Google or other. It's just that
yeah,
it sounds like you've got a nice onboarding experience there.
right, right. Yeah, I think so. And whatever they're doing with that mystical world of SEO, I believe is what makes the difference in that website. Because I did have a previous website that you had on your podcast a couple years back, and they built a beautiful website for me, um, and lovely, wording and all that. And probably, to be honest, visually was a better representation from an aesthetic point of view, but it didn't really
I think I know who
bother
you
me
mean. Yeah, that was a long
much.
time ago. I won't mention their
Yeah,
name, but like, yeah, that's someone I would recommend today. Yeah,
it was very expensive and beautiful,
yeah,
but it really didn't work. And then I went with this company because I was getting frustrated, and it's nowhere near as pretty. But my goodness, whatever they're doing,
right.
all of a sudden we started getting lots of calls and texts and emails, and you know,
Yeah, that's it. It's not about it just being pretty. It's got to convert. It's got to achieve the
right,
objective, right? For anyone who's curious now, the company that I refer most people to now is Pixality Design, which is run by and owned by Connie Holan. And she's done the websites for the who's who in high intensity training. So she did it for Doug McGuff's Ultimate Exercise and I think it's S Plus Studio, which is Randall Lightbound's business in Canada. I can never remember if it's Quebec or Montreal. Forgive me, Randall, if you listen to this. But she's done the websites for a number of hit businesses, and they're working well. And she seems to have that ability to deliver something that is beautiful or good looking, but also actually achieves the aims that we're trying to get. Get more people traffic to the site and drive more of the behaviors we want, like opting in for giveaways or lead magnets, whatever it is, and also booking consultations and that kind of thing. But I'm glad, and I'm sorry that didn't work out actually, but originally, but I'm really glad that you found a partner that has made that work for you, Kevin. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks. Yeah, that's life, right? I mean, it's business. You don't know what's going to work until you try something out. Hopefully, you
Right.
don't stay with it too long until you
Right.
figure something else out.
Because that's the definition of insanity, right? Is trying to do the same thing over and over and try and get a different result. Um,
Right.
so I commend you. And okay, so SEO is. I'm trying to get just because this is helpful for people, right, to understand. So you think most of the growths come from SEO essentially, and then yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Because I have not been great about, although I'm getting better at that. Uh, Self promotion. So I did join the Chamber of Commerce. I've gone to a few things. Some business has come from that. I go to conferences for Parkinson's because I just love them, that community so much, and I've
yeah.
certainly gotten business from that kind of thing. But as far as the hit business, I don't regularly go to business lunches and glad
Which you're not a fan of, are you?
hangout cards.
It's not your bag. Is
It's
that
not
fair for
so
me to say?
much.
Yeah, because I remember getting on calls here, I'd be like, Kevin, if you do this, you will grow. And you're like, Lawrence, I just can't. I just can't
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, I'd rather you stick your thumbs in my eyes on a regular basis. But having said that, I am growing and open to reaching out more. So I'm tiptoeing up to that. The house we just bought is literally a 2-minute drive from my gym. And that was
That's
also
great.
inspired by Pete. I think I shared with you. I remember him saying
Yeah.
at some point that he lives so close to his gym in New York that he could basically walk down the street. Like, that's what I want. I'm not gonna walk, but I could. Uh,
I could have wanted to.
and it's am I a camel? No. Anyway, um, uh, yeah, this is a little nice little community, and it is quite a community. So there's opportunities for me to go to chamber lunches and that kind of stuff, and
Okay.
that's my plan.
Okay. And you could also, if you have the right staff, or I don't know if you have these individuals in your team right now, you might do, but you could also delegate some of this stuff, right, as well, to team members.
That's the plan as well.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Yeah.
do have a staff member who training toward being a manager uh,
Okay.
for me. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
that's part of the plan.
Awesome. Well, there's some other stuff we can talk about offline too that might be of value there as well. For that end, for that's super cool. So let me ask you as well. I love connecting with people about that moment where they're like, man, I'm super inspired to do a high intensity training kind of business. Um, you mentioned you were. Let me see if I got this right. You were probably running Anytime Fitness. When you rekindled your passion for it and started consuming Steve Maxwell stuff, and then he said about Doug McGuff, was that when you were running Anytime Fitness? Is that correct? Did I get that right in the time?
That was probably at the end there.
Okay.
That 5-year period was such a in my mind, it was such a challenging experience, as
Yeah,
I mentioned before. Uh,
I bet.
that I'm not sure what was happening then. I was scrambling. It seemed like every day, 12, 13
What's
hours
the
a
big
day.
difference running like a big box versus a studio? Because not a lot of people have that experience. So what's that like? How does that differ?
So I was thinking about this the other day, and experientially in my what it felt like in my head, as odd as this is to say. Again, I'm an introvert, and what I understand about the introverted personality, and we make up about 15% of the general population. If we're around too many people for too long, it the noise, if you will, and this is where I can kind of relate to my autistic kids. The noise of that, for lack of a better word, is a din in one's head or in my head that made it difficult to think. There was just so many people wanting so many things all the time. And again, it was a 24/7 gym with 850 members. Um, Whereas in my gym, and so there'd be people coming from all over the world in Anytime Fitness at 2 o'clock in the morning doing all kinds of things because they could see it on the cameras. It's really some odd things
I bet.
where they don't think anybody is watching. Anyway, in my gym, I know have 120, 130 members. I know everybody's name. I know who they are. Um, at any one time, maybe including parents and caregivers, and maybe there's 20 people in my gym at the time at a time. It's manageable to me. Someone like me, it's easier. Also, I'm able to, because of state programs, I am able to charge much more money per person, per service than I could at Anytime Fitness. You're charging 30, 40, $50 a month,
Mhm.
for people to come and go in your gym and trash it in ways that, that defy explanation. Whereas this is a much more intimate, and to me, a much more meaningful experience. Um, Not that there's not meaning, of course, in helping people in that in Anytime Fitness or any type of big box gym. Of course, there is. It's just
Well,
for
didn't
me.
you but isn't the point though that you see far lower compliance and adherence and obviously people
Oh
doing
yeah.
anything that's actually productive in the gym as
Oh
well
yeah.
is so you don't feel like you're
Yeah.
perhaps having that impact? Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, watching, watching people do silly things on treadmills and
Right.
old men in pull down machines for some reason, doing ridiculous things.
Right.
Um, Whereas at my gym, the one-on-one, nobody's in my gym, on the string studio side that's by themselves.
Right.
With our classes, there's two coaches and, at the most 15 people in a class. So, uh, yeah, it's much more effective, easily, more effective and efficient, uh,
Yeah.
more suited to my personality profile. For sure.
There's a lot of people listening to this, Kevin, who are perhaps thinking about getting into strength training business. What advice do you have for that person?
What I would say is if this is really for you, if you look at this work and you say, have to do that, I have to do that because I'm so pulled to do that, then don't let anything stop you. And have faith, for lack of a better word. Have uh, a belief that even through the hard times, you're still developing skills. You're developing patience. You're
Mhm.
developing the resilience to help other people because the truth is, and this is not hyperbole, as you know, the truth is we are extending people's lives in a way that is more impactful than so many other things. The science is very, very clear. We can add, for many people, a decade to their lives, and not just a decade of extra life, because clearly we are all living longer, but we are not living well. If you look at the majority of folks in their 80s and their 90s, they are not doing well. And they could be. This doesn't need to be.
It's much earlier than that, really, isn't it? Like even people in their 50s,
Yeah.
60s, and 70s aren't doing well
Yeah.
in a lot of cases. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we have, through this tool, the ability to change their lives in a way that very few things can. There isn't any research that I've seen that says that there's anything better than exercise. And while there are other styles of strength training that are equally as effective as ours, there aren't any that are as efficient and are as safe as ours.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
Well
so
said.
that that understanding, if this work is for you, is is tremendous. It's a tremendous thing that you're offering, and the old saying, right? The the life that is built upon helping other people is what makes for a joyful life,
Mm.
whatever that looks like for you. But as they say, if this work is for somebody, don't give up, even through the hard times. You can certainly uh, help people in a dramatically impactful way, and offer yourself a lifestyle that is also financially beneficial, and you know um, you can make a good living doing this.
Yeah. You can have it all. You can have your
Yeah,
cake and
I'm
eat
very
it. Probably the
pleased
wrong
that.
metaphor.
What's
Yeah.
that?
I s-
Sorry.
I said you could have your cake and eat it, but I felt that wasn't the right, a bad nutritional
We should
metaphor
be able
wasn't
to eat
ideal.
cake too. You
On
train hard
occasion.
enough, you can
On
eat cake.
occasion. Fair enough. I will be eating some birthday cake tonight, actually, Kevin. And not my own
Okay.
birthday, my daughter's. So,
Happy birthday to the little miss.
thank you. Yeah, you said something well, you said a lot of things that are very profound, and I think that was amazing. And Andre, you're always great at clipping these podcasts up, but I feel like that might be a nice intro where what you said there in terms of your motivational speech there, Kevin. But you remind me, I can't remember if it was like Marcus Aurelius or Seneca or one of those famous philosophers, but I'm pretty sure it was Aurelius actually said something like there's always an opportunity to kind of work on a virtue in every life experience, right? So like you said, when you're going through hard times, you can develop grit or patience or these types of traits that will. I often think about this when my kids are being really challenging. And I wouldn't say I'm very good at it, but I do think it's a very inspiring idea, something if you can channel that in those hard moments. Yeah, no, I think Kevin, the stuff you said is so true, and again, is okay, guys. My reason for doing what I do as well, right? It's like what could be more meaningful than helping guys like you build something that literally transforms people's lives, but also enables you to have the freedom doing what you enjoy and make a good living doing it as well. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
Any kind of final thoughts before we oh, actually, sorry, one other thing I wanted to say is you were talking about there in terms of a calling and what pulled you to do this. And it must have been really quite something for you, given that you had a very hard time with Anytime Fitness. I mean, most people, if they had that experience, would have been like, hell no, am I ever going back to fitness business again? I'm going to get into something that's way less stressful. So kudos to you for actually getting back into the game, albeit in a better vehicle, it would seem, and making a massive success of it. I mean, that takes a lot of courage, right? I mean, I bet your wife wasn't always on board. And not that that's a reflection on her, but just the
Yeah.
trials and tribulations. Yeah,
Yeah, no, and to be honest, not without good reason,
exactly,
really,
exactly.
right? I
Yeah,
mean, I lost a ton of money. It was painful financially, and yeah, her response was initially not the most supportive. It's like, "You're kidding me,
of
really?
course. Yeah.
You thick-headed Mick? You can run straight back into the battle with almost nothing in your hands." But and we're what do you call it? Oh yeah, we're old. It turns out, but yeah, I just thank you for that. Following my passion has always been the way for me.
Yeah, cool.
Really.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's what it's about, right? Following that internal voice that says, hey, you know, if you're quiet enough to hear that, to listen to that, following that, I think is a really wise thing.
Yeah.
And remembering to have a sense of humor about all of it and try not to take it all
Right.
yourself quite so seriously. You know, that's one
Right.
of the things that working with people with special needs, at least for me, is a reminder, take yourself too seriously and remember to laugh at as often as you can about all of it. Um, I did want to say one other thing that was a surprise to me and that it might be helpful to your listeners because
Please.
I didn't know this existed. Um, and it has been a potentially tremendous boon to my business. And that is school districts, at least here. I don't know about in other areas. I assume it's the case for many of them as well. Many of them here in the States anyway, because physical fitness classes are not really a thing anymore, which kind of blows my mind. They have money set aside to reach out to businesses like mine,
Oh my
um,
God.
uh,
They don't
and
do like physical
offer
education
contracts.
class? Yeah. And like a physical
Many of them
yeah, go ahead.
don't. They still do, but apparently they need after school stuff because a lot of the parents are working, right? And so school districts are offering to pay for the kids to come to your gym. Um, and we just got a contract to be our second one. We got one for the summer, which was a tremendous boon for a month, a very big check for a month. And we've they reached out to us again. Looks like we got another contract for the school year, and that will double if that all goes well. There still has to be board approved. A portion of it, third of it has. Anyway, if the other two thirds are approved for the year, that will double my gross income overnight.
Congratulations. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, thanks. I
Wow.
so didn't know that existed, especially for the gym owners here in the United States. I would check out their school districts and
Cool.
see what they're offering.
So this is it a client of yours who said this would make a great sensory area? You have a lot to owe this person.
No kidding. I know. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, she has two autistic kids herself and was trained as a special needs educator. Yeah, so she knew where else to
She's been
go.
like your advisor during some of this, has she?
She was, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
kind of pointing the direction of here. You could offer this. Yeah,
Very cool.
neat.
Very cool. Um, Kevin, thank you so much for making the time. It's just been good to dig into your story a little bit. I feel like there's just so many more rocks to turn over, but I know we've got to start wrapping up. If people want to connect with you, Quinn's Gym, QUINN for November S gym.com. So quinnsgym.com. Go there if you want to check out Kevin's facility. And please do send him any hit referrals or other referrals, obviously, special needs, anyone in the area that comes to mind who you want to have a great exercise/workout experience. And you know that Kevin and his team are going to take care of them. Any final thoughts, Kevin, before we wrap?
Well, just thank you, Lawrence, for this. As I mentioned, this is an honor for me. Really, I've been watching what you've been doing for a number of years, and you're the man, the guy who brought all these top thinkers, leading folks in the HIT community, and the service you provide is tremendous, and I'm grateful for the work you do. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you saying that. Almost feel a bit awkward. But no, I really do appreciate your kind words. And yes, for everyone tuning into this who would be interested in getting started in in a strength training business, or just growing your business, you can get a free course over in our free school group, which is school.com/HIB-free. There'll be a link below. You don't need to remember the URL. So go check that out. Kevin, thanks again. Really appreciate your time. And for everyone else, this is Lawrence with High Intensity Business. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.